right, what about our roles and responsibilities? Whatcom County, they will review the project for compliance with SEPA. But they also have a unique role as the administrative lead for SEPA review. In the regulations, it's called a nominal lead, but we follow a number of the administrative requirements that are in Whatcom code and requirements for SEPA. Ecology will be ensuring regional and statewide effects are addressed because of our role as a state agency. That we extend beyond the boundary of Bellingham and Whatcom is the reason that we are participating in this as a co-lead. And the Corps, of course, reviews the project for compliance with NEPA, and they are the administrative lead for NEPA. All right, now here we have this colored graph. Now we had an attempt here. It obviously failed. We were going to have two large slides so that you could track this process all the way through Tyler's and my presentation. This entire slide presentation will be on our websites so that you will have it. Hopefully you don't have to take a lot of notes tonight. We'll have the color versions for you. But what I want to cover here is basically what the steps are in the NEPA-SEPA process for the Gateway Pacific Terminal Burlington Northern project. Now, I have under there, and I want you to know, dates are approximate. I wanted exclamation points. My public information officer said no exclamation points, but I still want to make it very clear, this timeline that we are defining is a rough estimate, please. It's based on our experience with large projects, other SEPA documents that we've been involved. There are many variables that affect the timeline, so I want that to be very clear to people. So, I will, and what we're going to have is blow-ups. We'll have exploded views, we call them, of each of the boxes. What I will be doing is walking you through each one of those steps. And so you'll be able to see what the print is, and then I'll expand on each of them more. So yeah, I understand it's not very readable. So I'll just talk about color coding. We've got gray, which is 2011. What sort of happened in that time frame? The orange line is 2012 of this year. Blue is 2013, green is 2014. And first I'll just sort of say overview what the boxes are in general. The gray, we've done some preliminary project review. For example, the Corps already determined significant impacts likely. We know that that's going to be the case for the county and the state. The orange, we have a box for hiring a contractor. We have the informational meeting on there. That's the lower orange box. And then the larger orange box on top is begin scoping. And what that says is receive public comments, decide what factors to analyze and what geographic area to consider. That will be the key for this evening. And then after that happens, you begin preparing the draft EIS. Down the line, sometime, estimate, is the draft gets worked on, it gets issued, it's open for public comment again. And then there will be a public hearing. And at some point, a final EIS will be issued. So now I'm going to, get into each of these with a little more detail for you. First, the next two slides, I may be using some terms you don't know. And I will promise you I will get back to identifying them. But here's where we're at in the process. Okay, an application was submitted to the Corps of Engineers, the federal regulatory agency. They made their determination of significance. By that, it's an important project. A determination of non-significance is normally for a smaller project that doesn't have significant environmental impacts. That's why it's called that. There was a co-lead agreement. Like I said, the three agencies haven't done this before. We had to work it out, and it was easy. We're working very well together, federal, state, local. We have an agreement on how we're going to work together. We're in the process of selecting a contractor. I'm going to go into that in a minute, to work on the EIS. And then The application was submitted to the county, I think that was yesterday, by SSA, and that is going to be reviewed by the county. I'll talk about that some more. The next steps, the county is going to determine if that application is complete. 14-day time frame, Tyler? Okay, so the clock's ticking on those 14 days, am I right? Are they business days or working days? Or 14 days, Monday to Monday. Co-leads will issue, once an application is determined to be complete, and if and only when it is determined to be complete, the co-leads will issue notices to start the public process, the scoping process, and the environmental impact statement process. And that's when those public meetings and the scoping process will begin. All right, let me ask that woman back there, is that readable? Yes. Okay, at least I know. I had a blow up of this box because I felt it was very important for a public meeting. We're hiring a contractor. We may use the terms interchangeable, consultant, contractor. Whatcom County, with input from the co-lead agencies, hires a contractor to help prepare a public participation plan and an EIS. The funding must be provided by the applicant. This is a very common step in large projects. You have a contractor who helps do and produce and develop the EIS, and they work at the direction of the three co-leads. They do not work at the direction of the applicant, even though the applicant needs to pay for it. They're required to pay for it. So this is an important step and an important person and people. It's actually a whole team that you will be seeing in future meetings that relate to the public process. One of the key things they're going to produce is a public participation plan. It's going to provide information on public involvement. Now, we got ahead of that a little. It would have been easy to say, oh God, let's please let the consultant do this. No, it was time to have this meeting to inform you of the process, but they will be working on how to further engage you and in a very systematic way. It will clearly outline the public process and guide the implementation of the scoping process. So you will see a contractor as it relates to the scoping process, and they will be working with the co-leads. Part of what they'll be producing is tools for project websites. Ecology has a website on Gateway Pacific Terminal. You just, look up our website. It's on the handout. We have basic information there. The county has the same thing. I think with a consultant, a contractor, those efforts will be enhanced. All right. So once the application is determined to be complete, that is what signals the beginning of the scoping process, which my impression would be that's probably why most of you came tonight, is to really ratchet in on this. What scoping is, I'll read this out loud and then walk through a few things. Receive public comments, decide what factors to analyze and what geographic areas to consider. The co-lead agencies ask other agencies, the tribes, and the public to comment on what the EIS should analyze for the project. Examples of possible factors to consider include stormwater, wetlands, air emissions, noise, traffic, rail traffic, vessel traffic. After considering comments, the lead agencies decide what should be included in the EIS. So I want to expand on this now. For scoping, what is it? I keep using this term over and over, scoping and waiting for scoping and starting scoping. Okay, what it is, it determines the focus or the scope of the subsequent review. What needs to be included in that all-important document, the environmental impact statement? It invites the public, the agencies, and the tribes to comment. The agencies do not just decide on their own what should be in this environmental impact statement. We take very seriously, and we must, the input that is provided by all of you. Scoping identifies the impacts to consider, the alternatives, and reasonable mitigation measures. and identify specific studies, surveys, and methodologies for analysis. For example, I'm already getting input from organizations and people saying, make sure to include this study. Have you looked at this? Those are the kinds of things we'll be interested in. Okay, the pathway for scoping. For SEPA, the county Ecology will issue our determination of significance. It's a DS, and the scoping notice. It's issued by the co-leads. That starts scoping. When that happens, we are going to indicate the dates, the times, the locations for the public scoping meetings. So those are the meetings you're going to want to be keeping an eye on. And the handout that was provided has a website. And I think it's important to note, if you go to the county website, you can be asked to put on the notification list. It will have your email. So when that's happening, you will get an email notification saying scoping has started and the information that will be provided. And then what that enables is for you to also become, through another step, a party of record. So that will be important if you want your own notification of when this happens. Naturally, our public information officers, the agencies, we will try to notify the public as much as possible through all the avenues we have with, television, radio, newspaper, all of that. The determination of significance normally includes, you're probably thinking, well, what is it? Is it just a piece of paper that says we've begun? No. It will have a description of the project, the list of the alternatives to be reviewed. And those alternatives can be added to, they can be changed, but that's what we're going to be putting out. And then what elements of the environment should be researched for the project. For NEPA, getting to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, their document has a little bit of a different name. It is a notification of intent for EIS to start, and what they call a special public notice. Same thing, telling you dates, times, locations. It normally includes description of project. It also will identify what federal cooperating agencies, what agencies will work with them to provide their expertise and input. Scoping comments. What kind of comments are useful to the agencies during scoping? So this is an important part. What we want you to do is you'll be looking at what came out in that DIS and the core document. We need identification of probable impacts that should be considered in the EIS. What mitigation measures could be taken that could reduce or eliminate adverse impacts for the proposal? And suggest alternatives to the proposal that should be considered. So we try to think of a lot of things for what should be included. We rely on you and the agencies and the tribes to help us further expand upon that to produce an exceptional EIS. And then suggesting methods of analysis that should be used. I forgot that one last line. It's a key one. What should be analyzed and how should it be analyzed? Commenting allows you identify, clarify, and resolve concerns early. And I think for you, many of it will be identify concerns. You want us to hear loud and clear what your concerns are. Could influence design changes, achieve more environmentally sound proposals, improve environmental information in SEPA and NEPA documents, and very critical, last but not least, this is a written record. So that kind of documentation is very critical.